Vampires, a published story by the modern mystic, 11 December 2021, 7:05 p.m. It's frightening to me that we are not more frightened of vampires and dismiss it so flagrantly. That is a mistake. Some people blame the anxiety of the relatives left behind for the myth of vampirism. That's stupid. I do think it's a real phenomenon, and perhaps more common than we realize. Just for the simple fact that they do look strikingly like regular human beings. How can you know? You can't. That's why Bram Stoker wrote Dracula. It is an account of how people behave if they're being vampired upon. In fact, several accounts. The stories weave in and out of each other. It describes how to protect yourself and your loved ones from these beings that crave our blood and essence. There were obvious symptoms to look for, and the doctors and investigators throughout the book tried to rationalize the behaviors to rule out obvious other factors that might be causing the illness. The victim would be lovesick or somehow drawn away from best friends, family, and leisure things they love to do normally, and they would just be so lethargic and cold, sickly, etc. They are real. Vampires are real. At one time, I had attended a Dracula conference at a junior college. I met Stoker's great-nephew, Dagger Stoker. He had in his possession a piece of paper. It was the original foreword written for the first issue of Dracula by Bram Stoker, but the publisher refused to include it. Funny thing about Stoker was left-handed, and he wrote from the right-hand side of the pages of his journals. He was a fascinating man. The foreword could only be read aloud. No photos, digital, or reproductions of any kind were allowed. They were strictly prohibited. He asked a member of the audience to stand up and read it aloud. Obviously, I had to stand up and read it, so I did. The gist of it was that Stoker said he wrote the book to alert the public about this phenomenon and to support his friends, whose daughter and son were victim to vampires. The vampires were originally from Romania, but had relocated to London, and it happened there. The victims' family were ridiculed in public and not believed. They lost their reputation and jobs. He thought it was an injustice, so he wrote it to back them up and to alert the public. Was it a forgery? I don't know, but it looked genuine to me. Stoker was a fabulous children's author, and that was how I knew him. Under the Sunset and other children's books, they make great cowboy stories by the fire. I only went to the conferences because I am a fan of this author. I had no interest in some kitschy Dracula fan club. How annoying. But it turned out to be so much more than that. So let me ask, why do we use gravestones? Why do they have traditions that require them to drive a stake through the heart, cut their head off? The answer is in the book, Dracula. These victims would continue to appear alive and go home, go to bed, talk to their family, and seem present. Ill, but present. Then, every night they would wander off, and somehow in the morning they may reappear back in their homes, but with the above described symptoms. So they may actually be dead. Already. They might even have had a burial. But because these beings know They can grab life essence from somewhere else. They don't stay dead, and it just goes on and on. So, to keep them in the grave, the first time they die, they would put a stone on top so they wouldn't easily go off and vampire some more. The stake in the heart was anchored in the ground to keep them from getting up. It is totally disgusting. What a vacant lifestyle. That said, surely we all know many people who are, in some degree or another, have been for some time living in a manner similar. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Are they vampires? Are they victims of vampires? I think we should ask these questions. And then we should go home, hug our kids, have a fire, and read some cowboy stories. The end.